So you want to be a musical theater performer. Let's say you're young and eager to train. What should you do? Maybe you'll consider what I did. I started with a few shows as a teenager and then decided to train at university or college for my American friends. I prepared 2 contrasting songs and a monologue and applied to musical theater programs. But if I could do it again, I wouldn't choose this path. If you're aiming to train as an actor or an artist or a musician, and not just focusing on classical repertoire, don't go to an expensive school. It won't serve you well, and here's why. Musical theater training in most higher education institutions and music schools isn't about creating well-rounded artists. And this is true at music schools for classical repertoire and at acting schools. It's about producing a certain type of performer. If you don't fit their mold, if you're too tall, too heavy, or physically disabled like me, you won't thrive in this training. These programs often spend more time breaking down the person to build the actor. You'll spend years doing exercises like pretending to be a goose, rolling on the floor to connect with your chakras, or trying to please a teacher who uses gender slurs. These are all real experiences I had. Only after enduring this can you get near a stage with a script. Now, to be fair, I attended theater school. But I know it's even worse and more abusive at its sister school with a musical theater program. But it doesn't have to be this way. Training can be much better. If schools weren't so focused on categorization, as Keith Johnstone put it, training could be a revelatory time for students. We should transform musical theater training to be more practical and stripped down, emphasizing individual creativity and ingenuity. Instead of focusing on right and wrong, we should help each artist discover their unique contribution to the final piece. Hi, I'm Julian Armands. I'm an acting trainer here in London, Ontario. I run a small acting school. You can actually see it at the bottom of this video. I also, from time to time, like to get on YouTube and share my views on art, music, musical theater, and the occasional comic book. And if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, please subscribe or give me a like on the video. My dear prospective musical theater student, I want you to understand that I don't blame the teachers for the current state of musical theater education. Many of them were trained this way in university and didn't have extensive careers as artists themselves. This is common, especially as the world has become harsher for artists. Idealistic young artists often transition into comfortable university professor roles. I'm even considering a master's degree myself to take a break. However, when these professors take their breaks, they often lose touch with being active artists and become more practiced in talking about art rather than creating it. True artistic growth comes from doing, not just discussing. Methods like rolling around in dance studios or watching classmates stumble through scenes without context don't foster real artistic development. Such training is limited. Now, professors might argue, Julian, you need to know the fundamentals before you can create full performance. My response is, of course. But fundamentals without context mean nothing. The best way to train is through a practical approach, learning on the fly as a show is being produced. This mirrors historical methods of actor training. Few actors from the last generation trained in repertory theater still remain. These actors include Michael Caine, Ian McKellen, Julie Andrews, and Patrick Stewart. These actors didn't learn to act or sing in a college setting. They started on stage from day one, gradually moving from holding up scenery to delivering lines, supporting roles, and eventually leading parts. Repertory theater, which put on new plays almost every week, offered a trial-by-fire approach. Fundamentals were learned practically, and the best directors understood this balance of theory and practice. To produce the best actors and singers, we need to shift our training paradigm. We should train our musical theater actors not just as students, but as artists and apprentices. Focusing on student artists as individuals can foster their unique creativity and ingenuity. In modern times, musical theater has become closely associated with the Disney Broadway model, often reducing performers to mere commodities. Aspiring actors are frequently advised to understand their brand, likening them to products like a can of Coke. While well-intentioned, this approach is misguided. It implies that actors are nothing more than disposable entertainment. Admittedly, there are times when the industry may feel this way, but succumbing to this mindset can be detrimental. To maintain health and creativity in this field, actors should connect with the core creativity of performance. This involves exercises that develop character-building skills using performance texts, like songs or scripts, and allowing experimentation without judgment. Teachers and directors should encourage bold choices, even if they don't always understand them. The audience will ultimately determine what works. It's not the teacher's job to stifle creativity, but to create an environment that nurtures it. Telling students to be themselves, while grading them on how well they conform to the teacher's perception of themselves, is an abusive contradiction. There's an example from musical theater, where it shows just how important different selves are. So consider the contrasting portrayals of King Arthur by Richard Harris and Richard Burton in Camelot. Harris's Arthur is a scholarly magical dreamer, while Burton's is a haughty, charming warrior king. These distinct interpretations stemmed from their strong sense of self, cultivated not through grade-based teaching, but through the trial and error of the Repertory method. The problem with a grade-based teaching system is that it revolves around rewards. Students get an A for doing something correctly, as the teacher depicts it, and an F when they don't. This system works well for students with clear right and wrong answers, like basic math, where there is a correct way to answer a multiplication problem. However, it doesn't do well for performance, because if a performance is different, it is received in a negative light, which shows that performance is not only subjective, but that you are rewarded for good performance and punished for bad. In acting, audience reactions provide feedback. You can tell when a performance isn't working by the audience's responses, coughing, shifting in their chairs, general disapproval. You can feel it. Teaching students to aim for a grade from one person leads them to focus on pleasing that one individual, whether it's a teacher or, in the professional world, a boss like a producer or even a director. This approach discourages them from following their own artistic instincts. The Me Too movement revealed many directors and producers who abused their power. This issue is partly rooted in how actors are trained to prioritize pleasing others, specific others, often at the expense of their own well-being. Actors should be encouraged to find their own interpretations. If an actor can explain their choices, even if I don't fully understand them, I accept those choices because they demonstrate autonomy and creativity. Art is about making choices, and there are no right or wrong choices, just efficient and less efficient. Now, consider the story of William Shatner, when he stepped in for Christopher Plummer in Henry V. Plummer recounts in his memoir how he was performing at the Stratford Festival in Canada, but he had to miss shows due to a kidney stone. His understudy, who was William Shatner, took over and made the role his own. Shatner performed the role differently from Plummer. When Plummer moved upstage, Shatner went down. When Plummer yelled, Shatner whispered. Shatner's performance was so impressive that Plummer sneaked in to watch it. It was a completely different show, but just as praised as Plummer's. Today, with few exceptions, such as the musical Hadestown, see my video on this, most shows are cookie-cutter. In touring productions, actors must replicate the exact Broadway performance. This is even more pronounced in shows based on movies. Ingenuity and originality are not rewarded. Dear prospective musical theater artist, have I discouraged you from pursuing training? I hope not. That's not my intention. What I want is for you to seriously consider how you train and what you do. For some of you, creating your own company might be the best way to perform and train. That's perfectly fine. If you can put on your own show and attract an audience, you'll learn more from that experience than you would in a typical university or college program. Remember, you already have the tools you need to become a great artist. You just need to learn how to access and refine them. You don't need someone else to give you these tools. As an individual, you can understand what you bring to any production. I've shared with you today what musical theater and theater training should involve, so seek out collaborators who can help you achieve that. Performing arts is a vocation that requires practice to master. So go out and practice it. Thanks for watching my video. The algorithm is a fickle thing, and if you could give a comment or even an emoji under this video, or a like, or even a subscribe, it will help more people find this video. Also, you'll see at the bottom there that I'm trying to fundraise for an opera that I am designing on Paradise Lost, John Milton's Paradise Lost, and it will be a 4-part opera. If you could maybe toss me a few bucks through my PayPal or buy me a book through the Buy Me a Coffee link, that would really help things. If not, though, a simple like is all I ask. Until next time, I remain Julian Armands. Thanks very much.